Well, hello, everybody. This is Marty McDonald. I am co-founder of Bad Rhino Social Media. We are located in Wayne, Pennsylvania, and this is the first in a series of blog posts and audios that we're doing to bring out some people that we see that are doing some unique things in our space wrapped around social media and really getting down to what you really want, is making your customers and clients happy. So it's going to be a variety of different topics, but as far as Bad Rhino, we're just a social media marketing company. We help you analyze, optimize all the channels and fight through all those things for Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff that you don't necessarily have time for, but your clients want it and they want to see you out there. We'll help you do that, pull in new clients and get them into your restaurant, office, or whatever it might be that you need to get in front of people. That's basically what we do in a nutshell. And this is for Rumbling. This is our blog, which is badrhinorumblings.com. And without further ado, I would like to welcome somebody on this call. Pamela, are you there?
I am, Marty. Thanks so much for inviting me.
No problem. These are going to be very, very simple, very casual type interviews. And Pamela, I would like you to introduce yourself to the audience today.
Sure. I started as an entrepreneur and working for entrepreneurs about 25 years ago. As a matter of fact, when I was in college, I worked full-time, went to school full-time at night, but I worked for a real estate developer in San Francisco, and he had me traveling around the country and managing some of his assets. Most of them were small businesses, buildings that were located in these small little communities. Well, they weren't small towns, but the main streets had really kind of dried up. This was in the late 80s, and a lot of businesses were moving out to strip malls. So main streets in places like Greenville, North Carolina, and Spartanburg and Knoxville, there was not a whole lot of activity on Main Street. So I've always had this very strong kinship to the small business owner. From the early roots of my career, I became an inventor, developed some products overseas in China, and had them distributed on the shelves of Pottery Barn and Sears and International Wine Accessories, and had some great success right out of the gate with keeping my finger on the pulse of what do consumers want. I would look at my own challenges as a consumer and was always creatively thinking, is the solution out there, and if not, how can I create it? So I've always been just very curious. Well, my journey in business took a very interesting turn. I was doing a lot of coaching and training with small business owners, solopreneurs, and I really wanted to leverage and scale my business, and I wanted to learn more about internet marketing. So I thought, okay, in order to really earn some residual income with my business and stop trading, time for dollars, let me learn a little bit more about internet marketing and how I can use it. And the deeper that I got into the whole world of internet marketing and then dovetailing it back and connecting dots back to the small business owner, that's where the path really took a different turn for me and has brought me to where I am today, which is, anytime I go into a small business and I hold up my smartphone and I ask them, why can't I find your business on my smartphone? Most business owners just kind of shrug their shoulders, right, Marty? You probably see this a lot in your line of work. They know that they need to have a website that is mobile responsive. They don't, of course, use that kind of language, but generally that's what they're looking for. They want to be found by consumers just like you and me who are looking online for their solution. But the challenge that they have, and really this is where I focus the majority of my business right now, the biggest challenge a small business has, whether it's brick and mortar, service-based, even web-based, is that they don't necessarily know enough to make an investment decision with online marketing. They know that they need to be on Facebook. They know that they need to be using Twitter somehow. They all have those icons on their website with all the social network buttons on there, but they're really not sure how to use them and leverage them, how to invest in people just like you who are really there to help drive traffic to their business and help convert that traffic into customers. And so when I started having more and more of these conversations with small businesses, I thought to myself, therein lies the opportunity. What we need to do is educate the small business owner so that they know enough to make an investment decision. It's not with the goal of turning them into experts so that they can be managing their own social media, right, Marty? Because who's got time for that? Nobody does. I mean,
absolutely.
It's really the biggest conundrum that a small business owner has. So that's where I focus my education and my training, is to help small business owners understand how do we get traffic to their business using a really powerful tool like the internet, using it in a way that is smart, that their money, their resources are not being wasted, that it's very results driven, get them to the point where they know how to monitor it and manage it. And that's all we want to be able to do at the end of the day, so that when they hire somebody like you, they know exactly the questions to ask. They know what the data points are in their business. They're really clear on what results they're looking for. And so my role is as the educator, and let's get them moving forward faster with really less frustration. That's what it's all about.
Very, very true. And we could probably talk for hours just on that topic. But today, I think the biggest thing and the main reason that I brought you on, I'm pretty excited to actually talk about and hear some of your thoughts, is you have a new book out. Is that correct?
I do indeed. It was just published about a week and a half ago on Amazon.
Yes. And you gave me an advance copy, so I appreciate that, so I could take a look at it. And I was, lucky enough to be on a plane, and I had it right there on my iPad, and, I couldn't put it down from standpoint of, wow, this really resonates with me, and it resonates with a lot of the questions that I get dealing in social media that Bad Rhino gets to, conquer, what the confusion is. And you already touched upon a lot of that. So, what I'd like to do is just talk about this book a little bit more, because for me it hits on a lot of those points, and I think it would help a lot of people to understand it. And we'll have, information below wherever you're listening to this, whether it's on badrhinorumblings.com or on YouTube, a link below right to the book so you can pick it up. That's number one. So why did you write the book, Pamela?
Well, I wrote my book. The title of it is called The Customer Manifesto, and it's all about how business has failed customers and what it takes to earn loyalty. And the idea for this book was really born out of, it was twofold. It was born out of my frustration as a consumer at the level of service that I was receiving from businesses. There seemed to be a major disconnect between the value of my money going from my wallet into their register. And again, I'm putting this in the framework of retail, but it's the same as if it's service-based or if it's an online business. But literally, my business is part of what is keeping the business owner afloat, right? Every transaction, and that's the whole purpose of business, is to get and keep customers. And where the big disconnect for me was from the consumer side was that there seemed to be a gross lack of appreciation for what the customer represented to the overall success of a business. And I would see this with national brands, and I would see it with local businesses. And it was a huge source of frustration for me. And then when I started thinking about, let's take my consumer hat off and let's put my business hat on. What is exactly going on here? And what is the conversation that consumers are having online about businesses? Every business is being talked about. If you go into Google+, if you go into Yelp or TripAdvisor, or any of the number of local directories that are out there, consumers are having conversations about any business on any given day. And what we want to be able to do is insert ourselves as business owners into that conversation, manage our reputation, listen to the feedback that people are giving online, and understand how to use that feedback to improve the way we do business. And so as I was talking to small businesses about how it is that they can really improve their deliverable, it's not about branding, and it's not about the amplification of the message. It's really about how do we hand over our solution to somebody in an exceptional way so that you become really the cream of the crop. You come to the top of the search results in a query, whether you're a landscaper or, you sell shoes. It doesn't really matter. Everybody's online searching, right? And what we want to be able to do is really just take this conversation where we can say to a business owner, people are talking online. Your job is to leverage that conversation. You want to insert yourself in it. You want to be proactively driving that conversation and not let consumers just go in there and take the helm of your business as it relates to your reputation online. That's where this whole book was born from. So
awesome.
The customer manifesto, I thought, well, let's reverse engineer what consumers want. Because here's the thing. Businesses make, I believe, the biggest mistake in that they are looking to create an experience, but it's really based on what they believe their customer wants. And so what we wanted to do in the process of putting together the customer manifesto was understand, let's just go out and talk to consumers. And these aren't data points on a graph. These aren't, enterprise-level matrices. This is really simple, like boots on the street. Let's talk to people and ask them, what would it take for you to want to go online and review a business? And, of course, the natural answer was, well, really, I don't have time to go online and talk about an average experience, what we would call in the online space a 3-star experience, like if you were to go on Yelp, for example, right? What we see on Yelp are people talking about 1-star experiences, which is a complete disaster where the wheels have kind of fallen off and, everything went wrong, or the 5-star experience. And that's where people felt really valued. And the core trend that we saw as we just started ferreting around and looking at what people were posting, everything people were talking about was how the experience made them feel. Okay, people are talking about value. They're not talking about the price of things. They're talking about how they felt leaving a transaction, whether it's in a restaurant, in a hotel, or some service provider, a plumber, whatever. People are talking about, did this person respect me and honor me? Did they give me what they promised? Did they do it in a way that was congruent with my core values? And we thought, you know what, that's it right there. That's the honey hole. Because if we can reverse engineer what consumers want, then we can teach business owners at the highest level, here's the 10 value statements that with every transaction you should want to connect with your customers, and let's turn them into a one-time transaction into let's start thinking about the lifetime value of that customer. That's where it dovetails in with social media. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. No, you made a lot of good points there, and I think that's where business owners struggle, is to kind of match it up, and I think that's where your book, helps tremendously to connect some of those dots that many business owners struggle with day in and day out about web presence and social media marketing, et cetera. So with that, who needs to read this book, and why should they read this book?
Well, anyone who is a consumer or works with consumers, even if they're internal customers, let's say that you're a business to business, you have people within your organization that are your customers. So everybody that is in business has a customer, and the takeaway from this book will help you better understand the psychology of what goes on inside of our minds as a consumer, so that you can meet us where we are. It's really, really powerful from the consumer standpoint because, even if you own a business or you work for a business that has customers, you'll really want to understand your power as a consumer and how you really hold the cards online with the success or failure of a business. And ratings and review sites are a perfect example of that. Or if you have social influence in any of the networks like Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or whatever. So really understanding the power that you hold as an influencer, who are the people in your circles that listen to what you say, and how do you get them to take specific action, either to go to a restaurant that you absolutely loved or to steer clear of a business that really were not very honorable. So that social influence is really, really key as a consumer. And what we want to be able to do is to say to the consumer, let's take the power back. Okay, you hold a lot of power in the online circles, and here's how you can use it to your advantage so that businesses can sit up and take notice. And, whether it's to warn other consumers or to praise a business who's doing a really good job and you just want to see them succeed. It's an important part. Being online and being vocal about your opinions with business, I think is huge for consumers right now.
Absolutely. And no, those again are all great points. As far as, like, when I was reading it, I was pretty much said, okay, you can start here because anybody, your audience is almost everybody, because you either bought something and had some sort of experience online, or bought something and wrote a review, and just about everybody has participated in one way, shape, or form, positively or negatively. Unfortunately, a lot of businesses don't realize how fired up people get when there's a negative thing. They'll go right online and say those things, but the best way to combat that is continually build a presence online, that you have a brand ambassador, so to speak, that will defend you, and you don't even have to do it. They'll promote you, they'll do all those things, and that's really some of the power in there that the customer holds, that business owners need to understand. So I think both a business owner and a consumer that's interested in this could absolutely get a lot from this book. So
So
just outside of the topic of the actual book, what was the hardest part about writing this thing?
Writing is always a challenge for me because I'm more verbal, and I tend to over-squeeze things when it comes to writing. But really, the most challenging part of writing down a body of thoughts is to make sure that there's a nice balance between the storytelling, what is the lesson in it, what's the takeaway, how can we apply the principles in our business. I mean, I really have worked very hard to keep this book super simple. Small business owners don't have the time to sit down with a 1,000-page book. We just don't have time for that sort of thing. So what the whole objective was to really simplify the message. Just make it a 1, 2, 3 step-by-step. Here's a blueprint. Here's what you can do. Here's how you can affect immediate change in your business starting today if you do a few key things. And so really kind of not letting my mind go down a rabbit's hole with a depth of theory around why these things are important. I think inherently we understand, to your point, Marty, about what is the value, what do we want as consumers. We all get this. I'm not really sharing anything new or revolutionary in here. It's really just, to your point, connecting dots between consumer behavior, the delivery of your product or service as a business owner, and then how do we leverage that online? How do we leverage your reputation in the online space and really get more traffic to your business using online resources? So keeping that a simple message is critical for a small business owner. I have to say that was one of the biggest challenges for me.
I would imagine so. There's so many facets that you could go down, and what really pulled me in and kept me going and going through the entire book, and I have to finish and go back and read a few parts again. But what really pulled me in was how quick it got to a point, and I was like, okay, if nothing else, looking at it, I was going to go research some more a little bit and say, you know what, this is really good. Let me look at my business and where we're maybe failing in some of these areas, and that's really what stood out to me and really made a point to kind of, hey, this is something that anybody can look at and really understand quickly that, like you said, a step by step, here's where it is, here's where we're failing, here's where we need to address. Ooh, I don't know anything about this. Maybe I need to do something about it. And that to me must have been difficult to distill it down to something that quick to read, but also really hit home and hit those points. I think you did a wonderful job there.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I was just going to say really quickly, Marty, that as a business owner, I appreciate hearing that from you, because the biggest disconnect and yet the biggest opportunity with business owners is that there was a survey that was done, and they found that 80% of the businesses surveyed believed that they were delivering superior customer service. And when the surveyors went to their customers and asked, how are these companies doing? Are they delivering superior customer service? Only 8% of their customers agreed. So there's a huge disparity between 80% thinking you're doing it great and 8% of your customers who really agree with you. Oftentimes the customer is is not sharing how they really feel about your business and the way in which you delivered your products or services. And the fact that you mentioned that you're open to it, and you were just doing some reflection with your own media business and how is it that our agency is handling our customers. I love that, because it says to me that you're open to improving the way you do business, and ultimately that's what this book is. The goal is just to get you to stop and think about, are you doing it perfectly? Maybe you are one of the 8% of the companies that are doing a superb job. Maybe you're not. Chances are you're not. You need to be open to the fact that there's always room for improvement with customer experience.
Very, very true. Very true. What part does social media, in your own words, play in the customer experience these days? Because it's changed rapidly. But, what do you think is that role for social media in the customer experience these days?
Well, it's really twofold in my mind. The purpose of business is to, as I said before, to get and to keep customers. So social media plays a huge role right now with getting traffic to your business. What we want to be able to do is take your brand and your unique product or service, and we want to get more eyeballs on that. And then what we want to be able to do is get those eyeballs to actually take an action. So that's really ultimately the way social media should be used as a tool for businesses today. It's still in my opinion, Facebook marketing and paid advertising is the best bang for your buck in any type of advertising, and I would probably include email marketing in that as well. It's a great way to get eyeballs on your business and to build your brand. And then what we want to be able to do with social media is to create community. So in the process of having a conversation with your perfect customer, and if you're doing a really effective job of putting content on, for example, your Facebook page that is completely relevant 100% to your ideal customer, then they will engage in the content that you put out there. And as they're engaging, then your content is going to be seen on more eyeballs. So the engagement and the community building is enormous for keeping your business top of mind and increasing word-of-mouth marketing through the internet and online resources.
Yep, absolutely. Very good. No, I think all those points are very, very valid in the customer experience as well as the business experience. Nobody can hide from it anymore, in my opinion, and it's been that way for a few years.
Yeah.
Just couple examples, one or two where you point out, and I'll let you pick these out, where you point out where kind of the online world meets real world in your book. And you have it, you touch upon it, well, to be honest with you, I think you touch upon it through the whole thing without saying it specifically. Yeah. But at the same time, I think you put some good examples and some good thoughts, and maybe some examples that you pulled off of to write the book. Share one or two just short ones with us.
Well, there's a really good example in the book of Airbnb. I had never used their service before. I was in Chicago visiting my daughter at college, and we checked into this private residence to spend the night there. If you're not familiar how Airbnb, let's just Google it. It's an awesome model. But anyway, we checked into this room, and it was really below our expectations. So we contacted the company, and they said, okay, we'll have somebody from our customer relations get a hold of you tomorrow to resolve this. So in the interim, it was 9 o'clock at night. We're trying to find a hotel in Chicago, and, it was very, very inconvenient. So the next day we received a message from them, and they basically said, look, we're going to not only just refund what you paid for the room, but we're going to pick up your hotel room, 100% of your hotel room. And in addition to that, we want to give you a voucher so that you come back. So here we are. We've not spent 1 cent with Airbnb, and they are already in recovery mode. They're looking to really make sure that we don't walk away from that experience saying this was an epic fail, that the model is a failure. They invested a lot of money. It was over $200 to recover us, and we were not even existing customers yet. So that's a way in which it's entirely possible that they saw my social influence online, or maybe these are their best practices that they do with customer retention, but they understood that in order for their model to succeed, they have to keep every customer super happy. Because what would happen Marty, if I decided, if they didn't recover me in the way that was satisfactory to me, I would probably have gone on Facebook and talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have tweeted about it in a negative sort of way. Anybody who's in my social influence, probably over 10,000 people when you add up all the different social networks, that can have a huge impact on the business when people are talking smack about your brand. And so that's a great example that I use in the book of how you can actually invest a little bit of money to manage your reputation online and make sure that me representing any consumer out there walks away happy and that they took care of me. That was exceptional. Like, that was way beyond my expectations of what I would have thought that they would do for me as somebody who'd never spent a dollar with them. So great example.
I think that's awesome, and I utilize those things all the time, and I've been amazed, I've been appalled, I've been somewhere in between, and I've been very satisfied at how well the brands, or how bad or how poor or not at all, that they respond online when you post something. And I use it used to be Foursquare, now it's Swarm. I'll check in a variety of places. I'm always interested when I check in to see what the response is. And not to get into it right here, but I've checked in a few hotels, and I've gotten direct tweets right away saying, hey, if you need anything while you're here, just let us know. And I see you're staying in Austin or San Diego or Arizona, whatever the place may be, and they'll send you the direct line to the hotel. And that was a couple of different hotel chains, not just the same one. And I always found that, I'm like, you know what, that was nice. That's something I was like, oh, cool. And in one case, they gave me the name of the person if I needed something. And then they followed up every day just with a quick thing saying, oh, we don't know how long you're staying. And then when I left, they saw that I left. I checked in at the airport, and the person said, I hope you enjoyed your stay. And I was like, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because they just acknowledged that I was there. So that's a very good example and a great thing. So writing a book.
Well, and Marty, to that point, it's really interesting because a lot of small business owners think to themselves, oh, I can't afford to do that. I don't even understand enough about it in order to put a program like that in place. And seriously, it's so simple with like Google Alerts. You can literally put your business name in and get an email every time somebody is talking about your brand online. So there is no excuse for a business of any size not to be able to monitor their reputation just through Google Alerts alone.
Yeah, there's a couple of different things out there, but there's really no reason not to. I think it just becomes a struggle with small business owners with time, and I completely understand it. That's for sure. So writing the book, we already talked about the hardest part, but what was the best part of it, other than maybe finishing it?
Yeah, I love taking the anecdotes and the stories that people brought to us, our own personal experiences, and weaving the lessons in and out of it and saying, okay, what's like the biggest takeaway? And really kind of dissecting a transaction that somebody shared with us and asking the questions, well, why did that matter to you, and why do you care, and what kind of outcome would you have preferred to have seen, and really kind of scratching below the surface of just somebody kind of bitching about a bad experience, because we all have bad experiences. But from a business ownership perspective, what becomes really important when you're a consumer and you have a bad experience is that you really explore in your mind, why does that even matter to me? Why is that a trigger for me as a consumer? And then bring those lessons back into your own business so that you can learn from those experiences. So that was really the most enriching part, because, as people were breaking down the story and we were digging deeper with our questions, they really got to the root of what they care and value. We talk a lot about core values in the book. Everything about whether an experience is positive or negative is going to boil down to your core values. And as we help consumers understand everything that you're saying is valid, you have every right to feel the way you do, but it's rooted in your triggers, in what you care and value at the core level. And once they got that, they're like, yes, that's exactly right. Now I'm going to start doing business with companies who share my values and people who really respect me on that level, because that's what's important to me. So that's the goal in writing a book like this.
Awesome. Yeah, I bet you that was very cool. I think that's one of the things that is ignored by a small business, that they don't they see core values or what's your mission statement, and they think big business, I don't really need that. And, going through that exercise and writing those goals out, what your core values are and what you're providing from an experience standpoint can help you tremendously. And it does tie into social media, and ultimately what you really want is your client and customer experience for sure. So
Absolutely.
last couple of things here. I ask this of everybody. Describe social media in one word.
Narcissism. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, that's
well, there
not
is
too
a little
far
bit
a certain degree.
I would call it money machine. That's hyphenated. Does that count as one word if it's hyphenated? Money machine.
Money machine? No, that works. I understand where you're going with it.
Yeah, it's totally untapped. Like this social media is money for businesses right now. Huge. Very
true. Very, very true. And what's your favorite brand online and why? The other question I always ask.
There's a gal. I'm always kind of stalking her work just to see what she's up to. Her brand is not somebody that I could model. It's the brand is called the Middle Finger Project, middlefingerproject.org, and her name is Ash, and she's just very irreverent. But you know what? She has a very clearly defined brand. She's very bold in her statements because she is trying to attract a specific kind of client for her branding agency. And everything about her, from the moment you land on her webpage, you know exactly what she stands for. And every business should do that, whether you're conservative or liberal, or she drops F-bombs left and right. And it's not something I could pull off with my brand, but I love that she's just she's very courageous in standing in that place where she is, with the knowledge that she's going to repel some people and attract others. And it takes a lot of courage to do that. So that's a brand that I watch really closely.
Awesome. Well, where can we find out more about yourself?
Well, you can find more about the work that we do with small businesses at reachacrosstheregister.com. And, of course, you can always go to PamelaHerrmann.com and learn more about me. My name has 2 R's and 2 N's, so Pamela Herrmann, Herrmann. I'm always on Facebook, so look for me there, connect, and love to learn more about your business. So don't hesitate to reach out and say hello.
And your book is on Amazon, correct?
It is indeed. It's called The Customer Manifesto.
Awesome, Pamela. Well, as always, it's always nice to connect and chat with you, and I appreciate you taking the time out to talk about this book. And as I said earlier, when I'm reading it as a social media marketer, as a social media agency owner, I do a lot of work, a lot of one-on-one work with clients and customers, and they search for the information that you have out there. And I can implore not only my current clients, but also people listening to this, that you stumbled upon this or you're on our email list, take a look at this book. It will help you define some of the things that Pamela talked about. Some of you may not be ready for an agency or from a budget perspective. However, it's very important that you don't ignore this stuff. If you've seen us speak, myself or my partner Rich, out at different events, you hear us talk about how small businesses can capitalize on this, and it's very important too. And Pamela's book really puts it into perspective, and it's a quick read. I know you're all busy. So, Pamela, thank you so much for coming on, and I appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thank you, Marty. Appreciate it.